I thought you'd already started, Jim. Okay. Okay, so this is a general meeting of the members of the Digital Life Collective. My name's Graham. I'm the chair of the cooperative. You should have in front of you a rough meeting agenda for this call. And everyone who's logged in should also be able to edit that document. So feel free to add notes as you see fit, so that we get a good record of the conversation.
Could you link the agenda to the chat?
Yeah, you won't have seen the old stuff. There you go. Okay, can you see that? Roy, hi. Kalia, hi. A few more people joining. Cool, excellent. Okay. So what I'd like to do first off is just have a quick go around so that everyone can say hi and introduce themselves, and just say briefly what you're doing at the moment that's relevant, and why you're here. So I'll start off with Eric.
Hello, everybody. I'm Eric Rangel. I'm a solution architect. I work full-time, but I enjoy learning a lot about what's going on here at Dig Life, and I'm leading a project called Climb That Mountain, discussing later.
Thank you, Eric. Go next.
Yeah, hi everybody. Les in London. My work is tangential around permaculture, sociocracy, working with Michael on the Community Currency Over Money program, but also starting to develop some practical examples of working on a collaborative, distributed decision-making model on some local projects. I'm complete. Thank you.
Okay, do you want to name the next person, Les?
Certainly, Sophia.
I am Sophia. I'm currently in Atlanta, though I'm moving over to Northern California next week. I am co-leading the Learning Commons, an adjacent space to the Digital Life Collective. I'll pass it to John. Philip.
Hi, my name is John. I'm from Cheshire. I'm really excited at the moment about the excitement around collaboration, how we're going to be able to do it, how we're going to be able to work together. I'm looking forward to going to Atlanta next week, just as Sophia moves away. And there's a conference there which is half open spaces, which I've never attended, and people are unsure how it's going to work out. So it's quite exciting, and bring that back and try and see where we can go from there.
Thanks, John.
Joachim.
Thanks, John. Hi, this is Joachim Stroh from Brooklyn, New York, sunny Brooklyn today. I'm a co-founder of the collective too. I'm a technologist, a consultant, slash social collaborator. So trying to bring some strings together here, bringing people into different online spaces here at the Digital Life Collective. The talk time is one of the tools we're planning to use more often, as well as another one that I'll introduce shortly in this call. So let me head over to Mike. Have you had the mic?
Yep. Yeah, hi everybody. I'm in a shared co-working space, so someone else came in the room, so I had to say hi. I coined the term sharing green economy. That's at sharinggreeneconomy.org. It's the overlap of the sharing economy and the green economy. It's a wide area of scope, trying to get companies to, like Uber, for example, is a sharing economy company, but studies show that there's actually more cars on the road because of Uber. So if they would force more Uber carpool situations, then they would move into the green, sharing green zone. But I launched a couple businesses out of that, and with multiple businesses, you can't pay everybody. So, you're basically herding kittens and trying to get people to go along with the vision. And so I guess I just I was invited by Christina Bowen, and just me to look for new tools to be able to help do that. So she introduced me to you guys, and these are pretty good tools.
Thank you.
I'm in Portland, Oregon, by the way.
Okay. Name the next person, Mike.
Let's do Jim.
He's disappeared.
Okay, how about Michael Linton?
I'm on the West Coast, but further north than Portland. I'm in Vancouver Island. My particular fetish is community money, network currencies, circular money, circular patterns. Get the money moving. And I'll pass this to Roy.
Hi. Well, I'm Roy. I'm from the wet and damp fens of England. What am I doing here? I'm a refugee from advertising and marketing. I am now involved increasingly in asynchronous distributed communities of all sorts and kinds. Some of them cooperative, some of them not. And here at Dig Life, I'm sort of wrangling public engagement, so Twitter feeds, websites for consumer-facing, front-end facing stuff. So that's me.
And who's next, Roy?
Oh, apologies. Kayla.
Hi, it's Kalia. I work on digital identity and specifically how individuals can own and control their own identities. And there's a whole bunch of work emerging that hopefully will be really useful. I think of it as like we're building a new layer of the internet. I also, I can bring this to this group. I am an event designer and facilitator for interactive events. And yeah, I have another thought, but working with Christina on mapping what's going on in digital identity and hopefully other related spaces. I don't know what hasn't gone yet. Philip, unless he's gone. I don't know.
Good pick.
Thanks, Kalia. So what am I up to? I work with the Akasha Foundation, founded by a co-founder of Ethereum, and I'm also a web science PhD student at Southampton, and I spend my life researching, I guess, reciprocally defining concepts of identity, interpersonal data, and relationships, specifically trying to unlock human potential, inspire cooperation, and perhaps create the conditions for collective minds to emerge and regenerative systems. So it's all in the mix. If you'd like to find out more, I had the privilege of doing the latest webinar for SSI Meetup, ssimeetup.org. So now I'll nominate Lauren.
Hi, everyone. I am in West Palm Beach, and I am trying to spread the idea of a smart network, which is a innovation ecosystem with collective intelligence at its core. And yeah, I'm very excited to be here today and meet all of you. And Jim, yeah.
No.
Hi.
Well done. And Jim.
Which Jim? I mean,
I didn't want my white scarf.
You're the only Jim.
All right. Yeah, I'm a sort of late coming co-founder. I'm currently occupied with the CoLab, the Cooperation Laboratory, primarily cooperation between people in Dig Life and the R-Chain World Computer Initiative. So we've got some teams that have formed their test use cases of cooperation, and the latest being bridging between the Open Learning Connect cooperation and the collab itself, bridging channels between them. My background's in the research and development in collective intelligence group systems back to the 70s. And I'm working with working toward the dream of the social ledger, that where we are in control of our information, and all the work on the social ledger and the collective here has been awesome, and we're developing cooperation in that effort in the collab.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Who's going to be next?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Gary looks keen.
How about Colin?
Hi all.
Okay.
It's my first time here. Is there more than one Colin? No.
I think they're both you. It's okay.
Yeah. I don't really have anything too much prepared. Software developer. I've been tipped off with the group here with Yoki. I think that's how I pronounced his name. Been playing a little bit with Talk Time, and also learning all about the new chain tools, trying to catch up with the development of those, Hollow, R, and the various other things out there. There's so much on the project front. There's many projects, so I'm trying to learn my place, find a good place to go if I can, a good project to work on. So there's 3 or 4 that I'm interested in. I'll just leave it at that right now, but thank you.
Okay, who's next? Gary, go for it.
Yes, my name is Gary Coulter, and I live in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm a retired educator. I have some training in mathematics and computer science. I came here following Jim Whitescarver. He was one of the co-founders, and I guess I was sort of a co-founder in that I got here early enough that I can say that, but I really don't deserve such an honor. I'm mostly interested in collaboration, education, research. Our chain is the project that brought me into the digital life environment, and I suppose I can call myself something of a netizen now. But anyway, that's why I'm here, and you seem to be doing great work, and glad to be a part of it. Who hasn't gone?
I think we've got a couple of people left.
Christina hasn't gone.
Hi, I'm Christina. I've moved from wetland ecology to knowledge ecology. I build system and network maps looking at making networks more visible to themselves and places to push change forward more visible as well. And who else has not gone? John Philpin, have you gone?
Good spot. John.
Hi, I'm John Philpin. I've been sort of on the peripheries of identity in this kind of world for about 4 or 5 years, initially with Doc Searles and Callier at IIOW. And through a gentleman there called Adrian Gropper, came across Philip and Dig Life about 18 months ago, which is when I joined. I'm not sure whether that makes me a founder or not. I've spent my life translating gobbledygook into things that the world at large tries to understand. So what does the tech genius think about how to explain their product to the public they're selling to? So what I'm doing is working with Dig Life and a number of other groups to try and sort of coalesce the conversations that we have that are great and amazing into ways that we can actually communicate this to a broader audience and start getting some kind of grassroots campaigns outside of what we do to the broader population. So that's my interest, that's my passion, that's what's driving me, and I'm generally just in listening mode.
Great, thanks very much. I think that's everybody. If not, please shout up. Oh, Steve, sorry.
Not to worry, I've been trying to catch up with everyone coming into the call and getting everyone's names typed, getting them into alphabetical order. And I think we've lost one person since we started, which was Karen. But other than that, I think we've covered everyone. So I haven't had time to think about what I was going to say.
So what are you up to these days, Steve?
Well, at the moment, I'm sort of considering my options and looking at power chairs for severely disabled people.
Oh, right, interesting.
And some other crazy stuff, but more on that in the future when I've made some decisions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I can see Jerry's just joined the call as well. Jerry, we're just doing a quick round to say hi, a couple of sentences about who we are and why we're here.
Awesome. Thanks, Graham. Sorry to be late. I had to move from one place to another. And I'm here with the large rabbit over my and the Tron poster just because. Anyway, I'm based in Portland, Oregon, work on trust, have too many ideas, and I'm trying to figure out how to bring them to the world. Happy to collaborate with anybody on things like design from trust, which means design from the assumption that people have good intent, not from the assumption that everybody has good intent, but just a working assumption that people have good intent, because I've discovered that most of our institutions are designed for mistrust of the average person, which basically shoots the genius that's already in the room. Happy to talk more about any of that kind of stuff, and eager to hear more about everybody here in the posse.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Right, I think that's everyone's had a go for the first round, so thanks very much for that. Next thing on my list, it says that I'm supposed to be giving a member update. So this is where I make my admission, so that I've been out of the loop for about the last 2 months. So I haven't got a clue what the state of play is on membership of the co-op, membership of the collective. I just wonder, has anyone here got anything that they can bring on this stuff? I don't know, Philip, you're normally reasonably well informed on this sort of thing.
Well, I can update on a number of things. One is to say that we still are liquid. That's always a good thing to say at a GM. We have a little bit more cash in the bank than we have liabilities. Hallelujah, praise be. The other thing to say is that we are over 200 members, which is a lovely thing. As Joachim likes to characterize, we know that we always have a number of people who are here to support rather than to get involved. We have a number of people who are here to involve, and then we have a small cohort that, well, basically pushes things forward every single week without skipping one. So that's the main summary in terms of the numbers, but in terms of the initiatives, there are 3 main prongs right now. The first is, if you want to use the new acronym of CAAS, a new one for you, Cooperation as a Service. So we'll go through that, I'm sure, on this call. The second one, which is all things mapping, for want of a more eloquent way of describing that program. And the third is trying to understand how the flow of data contributes or undermines trustworthy technology systems, which as I described up front, is the one thing I'm particularly focused on, which is generally called interpersonal data rather than personal data. Interpersonal being more social in nature than regulatory relating to privacy. So they're the 3 main prongs of the collective at the moment. Of course, our purpose remains unchanged. It's all about tech we trust and what that means for social systems in the world. Of course, that's far bigger than any group of people could take on in totality. So we have to look for emergent programs within the cooperative where people say, do you know what, we really should move this needle. We really need to fill this gap. In which case, at any point, lest you think otherwise, we're happy for people to step up and add a fourth activity stream, add a fifth, corral people to supporting it and make a difference in the world through the collective's infrastructure and social graph. So that's my summary. I'm just looking around the familiar faces here and wondering who I could nominate to augment that. Perhaps I'll just ask for people if they'd like to step forward and add a comment to that summary.
Philip, let me add one more thing. It's Joachim here. I do want to use this talk time thing. If you haven't seen it, go to talktime.diglive.coop/diglive, right? And I see we have plenty of members on this talk time tool. The only thing I wanted to point out here is there's a button called raise hand. So it makes it easier for us to actually see who wants to say something in response to some of the participants here. So actually I'm doing this right now. I'm clicking on that button. And if you see the talk time screen on your tab, you will notice that my name pops now to the top of the list. And then I will just show you a one-click thing here. I click on this. Now I'm on the top of the list. I can talk and continue this. So that's, I think, one way we want to use the tool here to support the conversation here, to give everybody a chance to participate. Okay, back to Graham.
Great, thanks for that, Joachim. So that's really helpful. Okay, so anyone else got anything they want to add on that sort of stuff? We've got some bits of information to pass on in terms of, sort of key dates. So we've got a membership renewal thing coming up, is that right? I know that we've sort of been working on getting systems in place and data migrated and things like that, and we're not quite there yet because that's partly down to me. And so that once that happens, we're going to be asking everyone for money, I think, to renew memberships. Is that correct?
Yes, that's about right. We have $10 a year to put in the hat to keep the servers whizzing. So yes, that renewal is planned for end of April, beginning of May, subject to us having the systems to support things without me having to keep a list on a post-it pad somewhere.
Okay, brilliant. That's good. So expect that to drop into your inbox in the not too distant future. Board meetings. We got dates for board meetings. Steve, you're the sort of the guy on this. You're the person I turn to for this sort of stuff.
We do. I'll have to go and look them up. I'm just grappling with the markup in the notes doc because my cursor synced and things just disappeared. So I was clicking in the wrong places. I think I'm getting there now.
All right. Okay. Not to worry.
We'll look up the dates.
Yes, we do have sort of dates in the diary for this stuff. I mean, there is a Google Diary, isn't there? A calendar that people can subscribe to. So that's got all the stuff in it. Is that right, Christina? I'm sure I've got that on my calendar thing.
Yes. I have a list of the next collective general meetings dates if you want me to rattle those off.
Okay.
Let me unmute here, sorry. Let's see, this is today, May 22nd, July 24th, September 25th, and November 27th. We should make sure that's not Thanksgiving or the day before Thanksgiving. And I'll put those in the notes too, if Steve hasn't already done that.
Okay, no worries. That's great. Yeah, and the calendar links in the chat there if you want to subscribe to that, and that'll sort of keep you up to date with what's coming along. Next on my list is about being a DigLife steward. I think, Christina, you're probably the best person to say a few words about that. If people want to sort of step up and do a bit more.
I'm going to kick that to Sophia, and I'll fill in if I feel like it.
Okay, cool.
You're shaking your head. I'll take it if you want.
I'll do my best. So for everyone who doesn't know, a steward is someone that handles operations and helps to support the collective to continue to exist so that people can explore and do projects within that ecosystem. And so currently, the best way to be onboarded to be a steward is to come to the Friday steward coordination calls and try to see how your particular skill set and time availability match to what's needed. And in terms of what's needed, the major things are tech upkeep and member relations and public engagement and project support. So if we want or have time, we could give maybe a little bit of time to each of those things to people who are handling them the most to say what they need help with, or we can move that to a Friday call. And if anyone's interested in helping, they can come on Friday to find out.
That's brilliant.
The only thing I'll add is that the public engagement team is working on identifying a role called Dig Life Ambassador for people who do want to steward the collective as a brand, but don't have time to be on an ops team. And that would just allow people to have a very clear way to see signals that, hey, we want you to retweet this or put it up on your social media spaces or comment or whatever as we publish things and interact with the world at large.
One more thing is that a kind of rule of thumb, but in terms of time commitment, it would be about 1 to 3 hours a week.
To be a steward.
The steward, not the ambassador. The ambassador is like 10 minutes a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the steward calls are about 30 minutes to an hour, and then whatever task it is that you're trying to do would probably take about 2 hours.
That's brilliant. Thank you for that. Anyone got anything to add on to that? Questions or additional points? No? Okay, so Roy, you said that you were doing some work on front-end website.
Okay, I can speak to that pretty quickly. Right, so this is something we've been kicking along for quite some time now, and I think we're all fairly conscious that it is a little hassle that needs to be resolved. Perhaps it's timely. In fact, it's coming to a point now because with CAAS has developed to a point at which it's now almost it's in product form, and so that is going to change what we were looking at probably even 4 months ago in terms of what sits on the homepage. So that's kind of come along in tandem. The challenge has been basically around web development. We don't have a huge resource around web development. We looked at we looked into using Ghost as both a blogging platform for reasons which I'm sure Christine could speak to better than I in terms of blogging and the importance of it, which was great for blogging, but in terms of actually a front end, single page front end for the site proved to be somewhat problematic from a development standpoint. We've looked at very briefly a WordPress front end insofar as we already have a WordPress instance running Civi CRM. Again, there are some issues around that in terms of it's actually not that easy to use. It's great for developing something. It's great for developing a front end, a look and feel, etc., but it's not so easily accessible as a blogging tool, particularly since we're considering using Kodi as potentially a common format. And again, Joachim can probably speak to this aspect of it across the site. So right now, as of Monday, we're reviewing potential HTML5 templates to see if that can be a solution. And we hope to have a conversation about that this coming Friday. So that's kind of the state of play in terms of the front end. In terms of our social media, we've done a little bit more around using our Twitter feed to cross-post, to reference members' posts and that, but that's That's still a very intermittent exercise. So we would certainly like some help and some abetance on that. And also just to note to everybody here that in fact we are cross-posting from DigLife. So if you're putting something up on your own Twitter feed, or there's a reference that you think would be appropriate to the DigLife context from somebody you know, point them in the direction of DigLife, alert us, hashtag share in our Mattermost instance. We will try and pick that up and cross-post that. We did some stuff recently around the work that Philip did. It seems to get us quite good traction. So that's probably somewhat more positive.
Roy, can I just add, you can use that. You don't have to bring it to Mattermost. You can use the hashtag share in Twitter and at Tech We Trust. So you don't have to move platforms if you don't.
Yeah, sure. I think that's about it. All I would say is if there's anybody out there who has, I would very much welcome any more help we can get on developing the site. It is proving to be something of a logjam, and yeah. So that would be, as I say, Friday call this week. Hopefully, we'll move that on a little more positively than the last couple of weeks.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Roy. That's really helpful. Well, yeah, count me in on that. I'll try and make that call on Friday.
And also, sorry, on that point, yeah, Graham, Civi CRM moving the database over so we can start getting some templates together for new templates for outbound things and that sort of thing. So yeah, thank you.
Okay.
That's up.
Great. Thank you, Roy. Okay, so looking at my list, we've sort of covered the finance update very briefly from Philip. Anyone got any queries or want any more detail on that? Or are they happy with that brief update?
I will post the current balance of about £6,600 and the latest bank statements into the stewards channel. Happy to share that with anyone who isn't in the stewards channel. I would add perhaps the pound might not be worth so much in the very near future. Events, dear boy. But perhaps if Brexit doesn't turn out to be such a disaster, we might still have some money to cover our liabilities.
Thank you. John, put your hand up.
Yeah, just as Philip was talking, it just occurs to me when I presume this guy has an email saying send us your 10 quid, but one of the thoughts would be to work out something that actually adds a little bit more promotion that each of us, if each of us brought in one or two other people, you double, triple your membership for $10, 10 quid, that's neither here nor there. Just something you might think about building that email to while you're raising funds.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I'll move on to public engagements. That's got your name against it. Is there any more to say on that, or have we sort of covered that, Roy?
Well, actually, I think we've sort of covered it, but
yeah.
Actually, John raised a very valid point. We've not talked about any kind of program around our outbound email. So I would welcome John's input on that, helping to craft some sort of structure around that one. But yeah, that's. But I think it pretty much covers everything that's in play at the moment. Certainly for this. Anybody like to talk to me offline or otherwise about specifics, please do.
Thank you, Roy. Okay, I'll move over to Joaquin then to sort of bring us up to speed on the technology front.
Sure thing. Thanks, Graham. Let me share my screen, my favorite part-time activity. So, all right. Let me start. By the way, so what you see on the screen is my screen of talk time, right? And I'm fascinated. All these names here, and the app hasn't crashed yet. That's pretty cool. So just to show you this, I can raise my hand here. It pops my name to the top of the list, and then I can click on continue, and then I can start talking, and then I'm clicking again, or the host can click, and then it brings me back to the bottom of the list. And I can see actually who has talked so far, right, and who wouldn't. But that's the thing we're still working on, so that's slowly evolving. So I want to talk about a couple of technology things. So looking at the agenda here, so this is this part here. we roughly have about half the members in this new chat space. So as you may be aware that we have migrated a lot of the technology services over to a new Mattermost tool. That's the chat tool where we have our conversations. So we're slowly shutting down the old Mattermost tool that we have running on a different server. And we're beginning to augment that with other services and other tools that we're going to use. Graham mentioned CaudiMD. This is one of the tools that actually you see here on the screen where I can concurrently edit the document. I can go into edit mode here and use something called Markdown to change the content of this document. So that's just another snippet here, another piece of the bigger puzzle, right, that we're putting together. So we're still working through the migration plan. Roy gave a great update on the website. So we're going to use some HTML5 type website, embed that with other tools. So this is going to be a mix that we're using for the Dig Live Collective. And let me show you one thing here that we're also working on, which is the Dig Live portal. So the portal, that's the idea, once we accumulate a lot of these services for the members and for people outside the collective, we want to help them to find their way, where they are and what we're doing. So this here is the Dig Live portal. So you can see that at diglive.coop. And it really breaks up the collective into these four broad areas. There's home, there's projects, there's operations, and there's partners. Partners we actually just renamed. It was called Friends before, but now we're getting more into what Philip mentioned as corporation as a service. So we want to develop our partnership model here with other collectives and other organizations that are coming on board. So again, this is just a way to quickly find your way around Dig Live, and it's still under construction. So you'll find some dead ends here and some loose ends. So don't worry. But click around. You can go into these different sections, like the Holonic chart that I'm using here to sort of visualize some of the activities inside the collective, right? One thing we started with was these interest groups. So we're working on those to, bring more people into these interest groups and then have conversations, informal conversations here, in the main chat channel. Versus over here, you see the ops, right? The operations. You see some of the groups getting more and more engaged now in working some of the different aspects of putting this platform together, right? So that's the idea. On the membership side, we're also looking to develop sort of a network graph where we begin to understand what are the different skill sets of the members, right? So you can see that, the second yellow button on the right here, you can see it pulls up the current graph. You see the connections here based on the current skill sets that the members have. So if I go to mine here, I can click on my avatar and it shows me my current collection of skill sets that I've added here. And that binds me to other people with the same skill sets, right? So that's the idea, to sort of make that a bit more transparent, and then later also link that to the activities we see in the different channels across the collective. So there's some development happening, and we'll continue to work with the portal here to introduce other things like these notes, for example. Find a way to organize them in certain ways, filter them, and you can find the right notes to work on and to continue working on. So very much putting things into the flow, right? Don't want to put it somewhere else where you have to go someplace to look for it and then do some updates. Or if you have something to update, something to change, or write to your note, to your working document, so it becomes really a living document, and then you can continue working in your stream, right? Okay, so I don't want to take up too much time on all the development that happens on the technology end, because I do want to spend some time on the social ledger and CAS. So Graham, if that's okay, then I just jump to the next bullet here, item.
Please do, Joachim, yeah.
Great, thank you. Before I do that, I see Christina has raised her hand. Let me quickly put her up. You had something to add?
I did. Let me see if I can remember what it was. I'll just raise my hand again.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, so social ledger and CAS. Quick update on the social ledger. So that's a long-term project I've been working on with Jim and Michael and a few others here in the collective to sort of understand what are the different activities, how can we record activities in more of a social, versus a financial ledger, right? So looking at the interactions of members versus the transactions of, financial and exchanges. So for that, I think we're slowly building what I call a sort of a container here for, or play space really, to say, here are the different applications, here are the different ways we can engage with each other. And that eventually turns into what I call the social ledger. More importantly, the question is, what are the different activities and what are the different applications we want to kind of build around our platform? And for that, I will show you a map here. You see the yellow buttons on the right side. You can also click that in your talk time. If you click on the button with the number 2, it opens a Google Doc with this visual here. And you can browse through it in your own time, and there's other links in this visual you can explore more. But since I have it here on the screen share, let me point out a few things here on this overall map. So the current focus really is on what I call here the conversational elements, right? So if we were to go ahead and put something like CAS out there, so CAS again standing for Corporation as a Service, that means the tools and the protocols and the ways of working together, if we extend that to other organizations that are out there, right? We could invite, we're working actually on inviting groups like Team Human or the Bateson Institute to join us and to use the same services that we're already using inside our collective. So what would that
stop you just there for a moment, looking?
Oh, sure.
Raised her hand again, and so Christina.
Yes.
I just wanted to frame this a little bit as you're seeing, especially for people who watch this recording later on, members that are less involved, that we are not exclusively using what we feel is trustworthy tech. There are teams using Google Docs, for example. But as we find stuff like CodeMD and the tech that you're seeing developed, we are trying to build on tech that we spin up as an open source instance ourselves, and that we own the data and can trust it more. So the exploration of what is tech we trust is going alongside the using of what we feel is at least more trustworthy tech.
Thank you, Christina. Yeah, important point. Right, everything that you see here is of course built on the technology we believe we trust, and putting that together into a single coherent picture. That's kind of the goal of Corporation as a Service, or as Michael calls it, Corporation as a Process, because we're still putting the pieces together, right? So this is a participative process, and we encourage all members to join in and to build out this kind of vision that we have. I know we're short on time here, so I want to show you one more slide here where the current thinking is, sort of the edge of we want to push this collaboration as a service model. We want to build something called a multiplex. So if we see, the Digital Life Collective as one of these containers here on the left side, right? There are other groups, obviously, other organizations out there that we do want to invite into the same play space, right? And they have their own domain and their own principles and protocols to work within their domains, right? But it's very much still a holonic structure. So meaning on the right side, you see the collectives on top here. They will have their own type of channels using their own type of tools, and then develop, kind of a role-based approach, to say, yes, let's realize some of the roles. We talked about steward at the beginning, right, as one of the fundamental role of the Solonic map. And other roles that pop up in these different containers, right? And that goes down to the bottom here with activities, where inside these channels we see different activities. You work on different documents, you create visuals, you have findings and so forth. And we want to support that. And eventually, the long-term vision here is to tie that to something like a social ledger to capture these interactions among the members and say, yes, you were there, you participated, And when we reach out and spread the word and share these services with other groups, then we still have the record or the pointer back to the group who was there and who was engaged in this activity. So very much, a work in progress. So we're beginning to set the model in motion, and to see how that all fits together into the corporation as a service model. Okay, Graham, want to give it back to you. Let me stop my sharing here.
Yeah, Philip had a hand up there.
Just to make the observation that we have a contingent from the Bateson Institute joining Joachim and myself. I think Michael's going to join the call as well on the 17th of this month, so that they can understand how we can help that community, a geographically dispersed, asynchronous community, actually do something rather than just read each other's emails. So we're hoping that they'll be intrigued by the services that we can provide, sitting between the sweet spot of free services that just feed the centralizing behemoths and the expensive services when you take into account all the sysadmin and maintenance that needs to go into maintaining such a suite of software. So we think we've got a sweet spot. We'll find out what they think. We've also just started a conversation in the community that's forming around the book called The Radical Markets, which came out at the beginning of last year. The community around it's called Radical Exchange. They've already got 12, 15 different city chapters around the world and no tech at all to coordinate that. They've got a few Slack channels which won't scale because Slack's too expensive when you want to include thousands of community members. So we're hoping that conversation will go very well too. And if that floats your boat, if everything to do with CAAS, Corporation as Service, and something like the Bateson Institute or Radical Markets just gets you, the hairs on the back of your neck standing up, then just pile in.
Okay.
You're most welcome.
Les, you had your hand up there?
Can I just mention briefly, I'm involved in the Permaculture Association Britain has a permaculture collab, which helps developing permaculture networks globally. It's on Slack and it's struggling, and I'm shadowing this wonderful work that's happening here because I believe they could wish to migrate to Big Life and they can understand it. So I'm bridging the two, and I'll be in touch with you later on how to make the introductions.
Cool. Are you working with Andy Goldring on that?
And others, yes.
Yeah, excellent. Okay. That's good news. Okay, lovely. Sorry, Eugene?
Sorry, I didn't raise my hand. No, I just mentioned that we can set up bridge channels between organizations, like we're doing through the Open Learning Now and the CoLab, so that there's a cross connection of the general channel in one to the specific channel in the other, and the specific channel in the other joined to the general in the other. But that's one of the things we're experimenting with in the CoLab is how to bridge channels of people using different tools, and how we can bring people over to common tools, and we can interoperate, hopefully. But the social ledger is a difficult problem from the point of view of privacy, and that's been our focus. Is how we share capabilities with others in world computers, safely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Jim. Okay, so that's a bit of a roundup of where we're at with the technology stuff. It's all moving ahead at increasing pace, I get the sense. That's brilliant, thank you. So we're moving on to sort of project updates now, I think. So we've covered that piece on the social ledger and corporations as service. I think some stuff on skills mapping and a skills survey. Sophia, is this you?
I could talk real briefly about the evolution of that. So in the winter, I made a survey and a linked Kumu map of both skills and like basic profile and some information to help the collective see itself and organize itself better. That was kind of a early prototype of what Joaquim ended up doing with the skills map that he showed you in the portal. For me, that kind of mapping has two major purposes. One of them is to map the skills that people say with the needs of the collective for certain roles that need to be filled, so it's easier to kind of seek who might be able to fill those roles. The other purpose is to be able to connect people who have those skills with people that are beginners and wanting to learn those skills. And I think that needs more nuance and inability to like ask people, like in terms of a gradient of where they are on that skill. And so I'd love to explore how to do that so that matching could be done a little bit better, especially when it comes to filling roles, because maybe it could be two people who fill that role and someone who doesn't have a lot of time but has more expertise can train someone that has more time and wants to learn. So I had been thinking about doing a spring version of that map, but Christina persuaded me against it. She said until we're able to update our nodes more easily, it would take too much time for the amount of effort that it would take. So I'm going with her expertise on that. But
okay.
I hope to continue that in the future.
We hope that the mapping profile, that your node on the map begins to be tied to your profile in Mattermost and the tags and stuff that is there. So,
right. Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Okay, okay. I've got Mike with the hand up. Mike D.
Yeah, sorry. Let me take my privacy sticker, which is a postage stamp, off the video. I've been coincidentally talking with companies in the AI recruiting space. My full-time job is I operate a staffing agency, but AI is going to disrupt recruiting in multiple ways with automatic chat bots after you submit a resume to apply to a job. There's sourcing, resumes that, AI can source resumes that would take me an entire week in a matter of seconds. But another initiative that some companies are working on in this space is doing, the skills matching and introduction. So hiring managers can use this service to tap their resources within their department of who knows who and to basically source candidates on their own without using an agency. So that's probably going to be the most disruptive to the recruiting world. So I'm not sure if you're utilizing AI and machine learning, if that's a direction you want to go in to match skills or not. So just something I'm going to throw out there, but I'm trying to get out of recruiting. And if it's going to be one of my startups, yes, but otherwise, if you can't beat them, join them. So I'm trying to do a mind dump of everything I know in recruiting, which is a grind. It's, knowing I'm going to be displaced here. So anyway, I just wanted to throw it out there.
That sounds fascinating. So long as the AI is trusted, of course.
Is that possible?
Well, that's why I threw it out there, because I'm not sure we even know how to answer that question.
Okay. Jim, hand up.
Yeah, certainly, in the Colab, we're developing a robot, and Gary has been experimenting with a number of bot APIs, and there's hundreds of AI APIs available, and there's all kinds of analysis you can do. It does require a fair amount to make use of them, but I mean, you can use them simply, but to really solve our problems and matching skills and jobs is really fundamental to cooperation and just part of the problem, because the real problems are human problems. They're not technical in nature, and we hope to embody these in the social ledger.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Joaquin, you're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, two quick things about that. What Mike just said. So we are looking at APIs and more into semantic APIs, and they get very interesting in terms of you can throw terms at the API and it comes back with some evaluation, some way to measure some of the interactions we have in the collective. That's one thing. The other thing is the bots that Jim mentioned. I do want to look at sort of open source tool sets that we can bring into the collective and have everybody understand what that is and embed that into our conversations too. So for example, we can have a bot taking care of some of the administrative tasks that we're doing here, the onboarding steps, for example, introducing some important links or making sure that you have a voice or questions are answered. That kind of thing can be handled by a bot. But to me, always important to see that in the context that all of us have a transparent view on that thing, right? It's not a third-party service that we're tapping into. It's something that we own, just like the other applications we own here, and that we can co-create around, right? So people who are interested in actually programming bots. And these tools are getting really easy to use now with these graphical user interfaces and drag and drop stuff, functionalities. So you can actually have a group of people looking at these technologies, testing it out here, and then sharing that across other groups and organizations that are working with us. So I'll stop here, hand it over to, Roy.
You're on mute, Roy.
Just a point on CAS and Les's point about, and I think I can't remember who else, probably also Philip was talking to this, of bringing on board new communities, other communities have a share of common interest. Just in terms of communications, one of the things I'm conscious of now that there is a document which I've just popped a link up to, which you might not look at now, but down the line, which actually lays out the new structure for the website, which is much more focused on presenting CAS as a product. And I suspect we're going to need some user-friendly terms to describe this. I think we're going to probably have to put a little bit of brain power behind just how we describe this to those who've not been part of this journey. And again, I'm sort of looking at John because that's, I know from his background, that's part of his expertise, as it is part of mine, working with softwares, essentially emerging softwares, and describing them to audiences that may not be familiar with those softwares. So again, just raise a point as work to be done.
Thank you. Okay. I'm aware that we're at the top of the hour now, but there's a little bit more I think that people are interested in doing. So I'm assuming that we're happy to carry on for another 15, 20 minutes perhaps. Yeah, is that going to cause problems? People are nodding, that's good. Okay, let's do that. So I'm going to move on. Philip, you're next on the list on interpersonal data.
I shall keep it short, but I just wanted to situate the work here so that everybody can help, contribute, connect, whatever. We're just going to share 2 slides from the stack I presented on the webinar on Monday evening, which you should now be able to see in your screen. First, the easiest way to explain interpersonal data is to contrast it with personal data. The personal data is a legal construct. It's defined in GDPR and similar privacy legislation around the world, whereas I'd like to think of interpersonal data as slightly more natural define. I know that's a tricky one, but in the order of time, I'll just keep going. Personal data is specifically about data subjects, which I find not very human-centric, whereas interpersonal data is about humans in connection and assemblages of humans and devices and things and activities. Personal data is very node-centric. The bank's got the data, I've got a facsimile of it over here in my vault, whereas interpersonal data sits on the edge, if you're familiar with that term in graph theory, sits between those, lives between those concerned. Whereas personal data often invokes conversations about control over it. That doesn't scale, end of. So interpersonal data is about having agency over the data, agency through the data, and with it, we collectively become. Personal data is often tree-like, whereas that's not how nature works, other than, funnily enough, with trees. Rhizomatic is much more of the way. If you want to understand rhizomatic, take a crayon and just scribble all over the page, and that's how the world works. That's how data should adjoin. Perhaps I'll skip to the last one, which is it's not just about privacy. We want to be privacy preserving, but also derive socially, societally meaningful insight. Getting both of those right is a cryptographic challenge, I'll give you that, but one that we think we can crack. And the reason that I'm obsessed with this is because of these overlapping concepts of identity, relationships, and information. I say overlapping, perhaps it's better to say that they're reciprocally defining. In another language, in a parallel universe, these three things aren't separated. There's just one word to describe them because each needs the other to be conceptually real in our society today. So the information is the medium of organizing of these group minds, of this potential to create regenerative systems. The identities, both of the individual and assemblages thereof, are the sense-making capacity of the organization. And then the relationships are the pathways, if you like. So there's no such thing as a social network in terms of a third-party run or hosted thing. It's our social graphs intermingling digitally, just as they've always done in the analog world. I have posted the link for interpersonal data in the agenda, takes you to the webinar, the slide share, and the whole video if you have an hour and 10 this evening with nothing better to do. So thanks for your time on that. Again, we're looking for cooperators, we're looking for connections, because this is a meaty piece of work that will take many years and many players.
Okay, thanks for that. That's really good. So the link's there in the document for people to pursue. Christina, I've got you next on mapping.
I have a few map projects that I've run into that one is mapping OpenX, so open data, open source. It's very similar to the Tech We Trust. She's in New Zealand, and I'm setting up a call with her. And the core mapping team is actually starting a collaborative business together. So, yeah, as soon as we are sort of up and running and functional, we will figure out a clear partnership between us and the Digital Life Collective and how we support those DigLife Tech We Trust maps of responsible tech and decentralized tech and whatnot. So, not a huge amount, but stay tuned for further.
That's fine. Great. Thank you for that. Jen, you got your hand up?
Yeah, Christina and Sophie, can you show a couple of maps you've been working on so that it will be on the recording of the meeting?
I can pull one up in a little bit, I guess, but
okay. Maybe you could
let me go look.
Maybe you could link to something in the notes there, Christina.
Yeah, I'll figure out something there and add it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so Open Learning Commons next on my list. So who's speaking to this? Eric?
I will, and then Eric will add some things. So the Open Learning Commons is just a community and a communication space for people who are self-directed learners trying to live together as a community. It kind of exists as open interest groups and then supports the formation of committed learning cohorts from them. It's in super early experimental phases right now. We're just working out basic processes for forming a learning cohort and joining group and trying to see what digital spaces we really want to commit to, but its core purpose is just to support our members in the coordination of self-directed learning and individual and collective sovereignty.
Okay, you want to add to that?
Yeah, Robert Best recently put together a small group of anybody who's interested in studying augmented cognition, and it's in the META-CAUGS, Metacognition Augmentation group. So he has a doodle poll out there for finding a time for a meeting. Okay, and then I'll continue on. I want to share my screen. Okay, stop, share. Okay, so I'm working on a project called Climb Dat Mountain, and it's an idea that came from some tweets that I was sharing with friends. And I put a link in the agenda to an overview of the project, its goals and sample use cases, and some contact information and places to explore. But I just want to show a demo. We're using a tool called Taiga, which is an agile tool. And Christina and I have been working to define epics and a Kanban board about some sample use cases that we want to support. So this project is to figure out ways that decentralized technology could be used in educational settings, both online and offline. And what I have been exploring is the Beaker browser. So I put together a small prototype of a sample class in Beaker browser. And what I want to show you is that this homepage is very simple to code once you have your components defined. So like these are all pictures, which would be the students. And if we could develop a toolbox of components that educators could use to put together their own web pages, there are scenarios that we could enable which would allow for student interaction to be very private. And just to show in the class, so say a student takes a lesson, so they may get an article to read, and it can open up an article on the web. And this is a DAT URL, which is a decentralized protocol. And, but somebody who's more of an auditory learner may want to download and play a recording. So it could be an MP3 file. Now these things can be packaged up into the site and downloaded offline. So a person on an airplane or a person in a remote village can use it. And then when it's time for interaction, the teacher can prepare an assignment and the student can make an editable copy of this web page very easily. They can save it locally, and this is their own personal copy of the class. And then they could edit the page and save it locally. And they could share it with the, they could even create their own new website very easily. So watch this, create new website. And it's minting a new URL. And it's now very easy to have a sample page that edit and interact with. So this is Beaker browser that I'm demonstrating. And let's see. Yeah, so eventually we'll have things like taking a quiz and multiple learning paths and mentoring protocols. So I've outlined the main ideas, but what we need are people with experience in education to help us design where this system is going to go. And in an agile manner, the high-level functionality of the system will be defined in epics, and then user stories will come out of that, and they can be drilled down. And I'm also using the brain to map ideas as they come to me, because there are challenges in the current implementation of these protocols. So I'm keeping track of what we're expecting to see happen in the future before it becomes viable for a real class. But this is a long-term project, and it could go in many directions, but we need people to help shape the direction of where it's going. So I'm available for any questions.
Okay, thanks for that, Eric.
You're welcome.
Any comments on that at this point? Okay.
I have one quick comment. The Climb That Mountain link didn't work for Kalia because it wasn't the published link. So I'll put that in here and in the agenda notes, but just if you're sharing a notepad link where you want everybody to be able to see it, make sure you hit publish, because otherwise they have to be signed into the Cloud Run that we're hosting it on to see it. So Kalia, that's now in the Zoom chat, and I'll put it in the agenda as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Christina. Jim, you had a hand up as well there.
Yeah, now I forgot what I was going to say. The last topic was I forget.
Okay. Stick your hand up and it comes back to you. So that was Climb That Mountain. Any other business we're on to now? Has anyone got anything they want to put forward?
Yeah, Climb That Mountain, my comment was, or question really was, I mean, I love the idea of a really peer-to-peer group system that, for the classroom that is like totally off the grid. I'm just wondering, what the audience would be. I mean, if you're going to get funding or whatever, you'd have to sell this to the military or somebody, wouldn't you? I don't know.
Well, I'm hoping that individual instructors can dog food it, learn about it, try it out. Like maybe there are some remote villages where they have a need, or just between us working things out. So, I mean, because it could go in many directions. I just can't keep the idea to myself. I wanted to share it with everybody.
Great. Okay. Thanks for that. Okay, so I think we're sort of at the end. Shall we do a quick once round as a closing round?
I was really hoping that the closing round could specifically ask people what they need, especially people who are not involved, to make the activities of the collective more clear, or if you're wanting to start a project and you don't know how, any questions and feedback from how the collective looks from the outside, because of course the folks who are in here daily or weekly get a pretty good sense, but I think it's really good to get feedback.
That's an excellent point. Okay, so who wants to kick off on that closing round?
I can kick it off. Yeah, this is amazing technology you guys have put together. Very impressive. Again, I've been struggling with how to transition out of recruiting. I'm pretty worried about this AI, machine learning. I've met with a company in Seattle, and these guys are just building this technology and launching it without even any collaboration with anybody in recruiting. So it's like, okay, well, where's the, and then I see a lot of different, this is the best collaboration offer I've seen. And Christina's been very helpful with me. And yeah, this is not an exact science when you start to figure out how to tie different networks in and people, I'm used to the frustration with people in staffing. It's only product in sales where your product changes its mind. It's a very frustrating business, but yeah, there's got to be a way to grow this, scale this, and I know you have to worry about trust and whatnot. But yeah, it's a pretty anxiety. Yeah, there's lots that's going to be changing, but I think you've got a great foundation. So
excellent. Thank you for that. Who do you want to go next?
I'll go next. I'm super excited. I'm chomping at the bit, but I'm in a field the other side of the hill, and it's, I'm very grateful to the time that Christina has spent, guiding me, but it's, I still have a struggle. I'm reliant on the goodwill of some of the founder members here to sort of guide me through, because I'm not that technically literate, but I know more than I did 6 months ago that what the offer is here is absolutely tremendous for all of us that care about ourselves and the planet. So you'll be seeing a bit more of me, but that's all I can say right now. I'm complete. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Les. Who's next? Anyone? Shall I just nominate somebody? I'll go with Kalia. Are you there, Kalia?
Hi. Hi.
We've stunned you into silence, have we?
Maybe you didn't get the framing for the checkout. We're asking what could you use help with in your collaboration with DigLife, and anything that you need in terms.
Yeah, I mean, the thread on the side is sort of, I guess, where we're at in terms of making some connections, and yeah, it would be great to check in with you, Christina, sometime in the next week too.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to move on then to Colin.
Yeah, just pretty impressed with this layout and format. And I guess I'm interested in technology stuff. I heard there was an ask about website stuff. So that would be interesting to get my hands on some of that. Also playing around with some of the code with yoking on the time as well. Just so React, I guess that's made in Vue.js, and those are kind of two of the things I'm looking at right now. So kind of fit a sweet spot. So anyway, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
Gary, yeah?
Yeah, happy to go. I've also got to drop off the call to get on a different call in this endless chain of Zoom, which is what apparently the 21st century is all about. I appreciate this group a lot, and I also just want to sort of call out a little special appreciation for the shepherd who puts heart and soul into this, which is Christina, sort of making sure that people understand what's where, who's where, how to get in, how to get out, who to talk to, what is this thing, etc. So
Christina and Sophia.
Yes,
and
indeed.
Everybody else who's pointing everybody in Mattermost.
And the cast of thousands who's beginning to sort of come in and help. But thank you, and I have to head off.
Okay, thanks, Jerry, for being here. Who's next? Lauren.
Hey, I've just been so impressed by everything that you're doing, and I just love everything that's going on. If you ever need help with any graphic stuff, I'm a graphic designer, and be happy to help. And I just
We immediately say yes.
Well, just I'll see you tomorrow. So
Cool.
Yeah, count on me.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Roy.
No, I'm nothing more to add apart from the boring and mundane. More hands make lighter work. Thank you very much for all who volunteered so far. Please come along more on board, particularly code, graphics, storytelling, all of those basic things that we need to tell the world about the amazing things that are going on here. So please join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Eric.
Yeah. I found that skills map interesting because I saw some connections to people I wasn't aware of. So I got to explore that a little more. Thanks.
Cool. Lovely. John?
There's two Johns. Me.
Yes, you.
I'm going to pick up something that Dave said before, which is AI in recruitment as a potential threat. I don't believe that. And it's because I work around the recruitment industry. And I can't stand it. It's unregulated, it's a complete mess. And as soon as it can be freed from the middleman, the better. And what I'm going to link to is the idea of the future of work, which I look at. We've got automation and machine intelligence coming down the line, whether we like it or not. But I'm optimistic it's going to be a good thing. But it's also going to mean that we're going to have to adapt. Everybody's going to have to adapt, from surgeons to people who drive cars. And the skills that will be needed are creative skills, empathy, and all that kind of stuff, which you can only learn from other people. And I think that where we are today, when we look back in 50 years, is how these people managed to work out a way of working together, which I don't think needs to be a technological solution just yet. There are things that are already commodities that we can make use of, such as Zoom, Mattermost, and then all the work that Joachim and Christina and everybody else in the collective are doing. But reflecting back to what Dave was saying before, Mike, sorry, I can't remember names, by the way. I have a blank book with names. As an example for recruitment will actually augment the process, and it'll be just as useful to candidates and people looking for jobs as it will be for people that make money out of recruitment. And that's the problem at the moment, is recruitment is quite a lucrative business in Europe and in the US. Google have entered recruitment in a big way. So what they'll find is by the time they've got all these systems in place, it will be replaced by the reputation economy and things that can work around that. Decentralized. That's my prediction anyway.
Brilliant. Thanks, John. Michael, got your hand up there?
Yeah, reference to contrast with the complete mess that John just referenced in AI and recruitment. What I see with this project is it's an incomplete mess, and the incompletion is the opportunity. It's a cluster of creative chaos, and I'm very confused by it, but hopefully confused. I think it's very good stuff. I can't keep up with it, but that's great. The only thing I'd say is I don't want to look back in 50 years. I don't think I've got 50 years. I'd like to look back in 5 and say exactly what John said. Over.
Thank you, Michael. Gary.
Well, I'm a little bit like Michael there. I can't keep up with it. I've been around since the beginning. The tools were amazing over a year ago, and they've changed drastically now, and I'm trying to keep up with them, but and it's very difficult to keep up with the tools. I would like to see more people making use of the tools we have, and realizing what the potential thing is. We can use it for ourselves to build something new, and that means we're just going to have to start using it.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you very much. Sophia.
Hey, so it's really wonderful to be in the same place with everyone. I really am glad everyone here. I just end with a suggestion, just kind of second what other people said, that all of this is really possible due to the onboarding and member coordination labor that's largely done by Christina, which really creates a single point of failure for the collective, especially as she tries to get her own mapping co-op off the ground. So I would just strongly suggest as the collective move towards renewing membership dues, that the board and stewards really work on how to make that role more sustainable by finding someone to lead it and how to distribute that labor a little bit more.
That's a very good point. Well done. Thank you. Philip.
Some great comments there. I'm just enthused by the lovely mix of people on this call, but maybe we continue to increase our diversity. That can only bode well. I'm a big fan of Gregory Bateson, a fabulous anthropologist and information philosopher of the 20th century, who, when asked how you might just attend to something that is sick, a sick human or a sick organization, he hesitated, paused, scratched his head and said, add complexity. and that's not a bad thing to look at the world. That's not a bad lens to look at the world through. In particular, relating to people developing AI, people developing the blockchain, they generally, in my experience, are not adding complexity. They're a homogenous group, very narrow disciplinary expertise, and they're dangerous. They're a danger to society. And if we can offer any response to that, if we can help make that more visible, more obvious to everybody else, then that alone will have served us particularly well. My favorite phrase, particularly with identity technologists at the moment, if they are technologists rather than socio-technologists, if they think that they can solve identity, then they are out and out a danger to society and people will die. So our work is essential. Lovely to be cooperating with you.
Christina, did you want to add to that?
Yes. If anybody does not know thevitaledge.com, Gideon Rosenblatt is a member of the collective. He is one of the few voices in AI that is explicitly coming from a life metaphor, and a lot of his work is very resonant with the interpersonal data work that Philip's been doing. So that he's in the AI chat channel in our main chat domain. And his community has been previously recently on Google+. So there's an opportunity here for the collective to really drive forward a conversation that grounds AI in living metaphors rather than machine metaphors with his help and support his work.
Excellent. Roy, you put your hand up. Mute.
Christine's just brought forward the word conversation, and it was something I meant to say when I was talking about the basics, and I was going to add something in which was potentially sublime. Joachim's observed this term, conversational commons. I'll just throw it out there because I don't know that we've actually tied down even what that means, but there is something we think that we're doing here that could well fall under this generic conversational commons. We're creating something out of our conversations. So again, I've completely forgotten to mention that, but I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Joaquin? You're on mute.
Sorry. Yeah, thank you, Roy, for mentioning the comments again. I think that's a fascinating goal we are striving towards with a fascinating group of people here, right? I mean, I can't say enough about the help and the coordination and the collaboration we did in this space, and I really invite everybody else who's interested in what we're doing here to join into the conversation or reach out to any one of us and see if you can get started right somewhere, somewhere where it interests you. Start your profile page. Say what your skill sets are, so we can get to know you better, and then jump into the playground here, right? So for me, technology, I want to move that really more and more into the background here, or into a position where it supports our activities, right? It's not that technology is up front and center. It's the background piece that supports our human activities, and that's always an important criterion here for anything that we do in the collective. I just wanted to emphasize that again, and shout out again to Sophia and Christina, who are doing tremendous work onboarding members and helping us to stay connected. Be connected. Let's go. Thank you.
Thank you, Joaquin. Jim, I think you might be the last person to go here.
All right. Well, it's certainly always been a great group of people. I mean, some of the faces have changed. Some of them are the same. There's just too much going on here. It's chaos. There's a longing in me to make all our connections work at once, and that's not really possible. It's like, why don't we have, open money on our chain? Why don't the progress on getting the social ledger is, takes time, and but we have a fertile ground where these things are sort of, the seeds have been planted, and somehow, some way, it's going to come together. We don't know how, but we're trying to figure out how to put it together. To work in open learning, getting people together to cooperate on at the bottom layer is what can enable a collective intelligence to emerge from us as an organization. And same habits in the habitat, the work that that's being done on protocols, and then how we share those protocols and use the same habits in the habitat. And Christine.
Just wanted to say that there, between the future possible and the now, if we can use the existing stewards channel for, if you're doing something and leading an ops team or making some progress on an ops team, put a little weekly update there once a week, check stewards, make a comment. And then if you're in just the main collective, feel free to announce, if you're starting a project, announce that in announcements. Those two main announcements in the main chat and stewards channel in the ops chat could be used in a better rhythm. And I think showing our own collaboration as a process to be a little bit more functional than it is a good step to offering it as a service to others.
Right, Trent. John, you got a hand up?
I just want to add something to what Philip said about diversity, which is we've got to have it, is to say that we also need diversity of thought and to grow the membership. Being hostile towards AI, I don't think is going to be helpful. We need to be open-minded and understand it a bit more. It's a complex subject. And actually, IA is the wrong term. That's about the movies and spaceships and flying cars. It's about mathematics and machine intelligence and automation. And it's going to happen. It's not that we can delay it. Maybe it will be in 50 years' time, and by then we've got there. But I think, to encourage engagement in collective and projects is to encourage people to be open-minded. I hope that makes sense. Wasn't intended as a hostile or criticism.
Mike?
Yeah, I agree. I'm just, I follow these, what companies are getting funded, what companies are being bought out. And, if someone has access to funding, I see, then they just go create an AI platform and sell it to some large company for 30, 40, 50 million dollars. I'm missing out on that. And I guess it's the FOMO of knowing that this AI is going to replace something, and then I don't capitalize, I don't benefit from it. So that's all I'm concerned about. If you can't beat them, join them. So if I could be of help to this group, I will, but I've got other projects going on, and I'm going to try to gradually integrate here. So.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, folks, I'm going to wrap it up there. So thank you all for turning up. That's been a really interesting discussion, I think, certainly for me. I'd echo what other people say in terms of thanks to Sophia and Christina for doing such critical work in terms of getting people engaged in this thing. And to Rakim and Jim for the technology stuff. These are sort of the pillars really on which we're trying to sort of build the thing to move forward. So thank you for that, and thanks to everyone for your contributions.
Yeah, Joachim has been a wild man, just crazy. I help where I can, but
100%.
Philip, before you go, I'll ping Gideon and schedule a session on AI.
Awesome. Thanks for chairing, Graham.
Okay, pleasure.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, take care. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.